Welcome to Alignment. Alignment. My name is Dasha Kelly Hamilton, and I am the Wisconsin Poet Laureate. And alignment is an opportunity for me to fall into some unexpected conversation with some new favorite people. So I have a chance to engage with all different walks of life, all different brands of human, and so many different interesting stories. So I like to bring my tools to the table, which is incredible, expansive language, and invite people to tell me where it takes them. And today, I've invited a guest to come on with this prompt: the galaxy, flowers, and spins. Visual, right? You know, the way poems tend to do. And the invitation is not to examine what the line means, not to guess where the poem it comes from, but just what does this arrangement of words mean to them? And our guest is going to come and share her stories is Jade Iseri-Ramos.
Hi, Dasha. Thanks for having me. And you
Absolutely.
nailed the name.
I was like, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Now, and especially someone whose name gets freestyled a lot. So I can definitely appreciate trying to get all of those consonants and those vowel sounds where they're supposed to be.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So I have had a chance to just get to know how you work on a project that the stars have put us together with. But that's not the same as knowing who you be. So tell
Yeah.
me and the good people, who are you?
Well, like you said, my name is Jade Iseri-Ramos. I am um, a community journalist and a freelance podcast producer based in Madison currently. I've got a few projects that I'm really passionate about right now. And one of them is a project that you and I are working on together through Wisconsin Humanities, which is how the galaxy spun us together.
Every time. It works every time. It works every time. So is Madison home for you?
So Madison is, well, technically I live in Monona, which I like to call like the New Jersey of Madison. It's like kind of the cute like beach town of Madison.
Okay.
Yeah, rent's a little cheaper here. Things move a little slower here, and we've
Mhm.
got very few sidewalks. Um,
Interesting. You know, I had a friend who mentioned, she moved a lot, and she said, "You don't realize that you want sidewalks until you don't have them." And it's one of those things that you definitely it wouldn't catch your attention until somehow the absence remind you of this thing that was missing. You know what's missing around here? Sidewalks. That's what's missing around here. So have you moved a
yeah.
lot, or is Monona was the Monona, New Jersey always been home for you?
So no, I moved to the Madison area about 4 years ago. I'm originally from Oregon, the state. Not that there's a town here called Oregon.
Or gone?
It's
Mhm.
yeah. So I'm originally from Oregon, the state. I grew up on like the border of Idaho and Oregon. Um, some people might say it's Idaho, but I really hold on to the I'm from Oregon. Small town. And then I moved for college. I moved to Portland for a short while. And then when my time there was up, I kind of threw a dart on a map and ended up here in the great state of Wisconsin.
Oh my.
Yeah, so I'm a transplant like many people here, especially my age and in the Madison area.
Tell me about that dart throwing. So you never just throw one dart, or did you throw one dart, "I'm just gonna pour everything in this new unknown place?" Or
Well,
were there other how did you
so I'll let you in on my like little known secret. My
Okay.
like, you know, my dog is like really naughty. She's
Okay.
just like she's very particular. She doesn't like other dogs. She doesn't like men. She's just got some things. And so I paid a lot of money to go to like a very expensive training place, and they are a franchise. And so when I was looking at places to go, I
Mhm.
had looked at what their policy was like, if you did lessons at this one place, can you go to a different city and still do lessons? And there was like a list of maybe 20 cities that
Oh
had this dog training
my
place.
goodness. That's
So
my new favorite thing. I'm gonna tell everyone this story.
so yeah, my dog picked where we moved. You know, there was some like things that I decided, cost of living, you know, general demographics of the area. You know, would I rather be too hot or too cold? I picked
You know,
cold.
the basic stuff. What regular people go through. But then, and what is your dog's name?
Her name's Blue.
Blue. So you had to have a conference with Blue.
Yep.
And this is so different from spouses and children and extended family. Oh my goodness, this is everything. I don't even know what to do with this right now. Have you always been a dog person? Did you grow up with pets as close in
Yeah,
family as that?
so yes and no. I think that like a lot of people who are in, you know, their or like a lot of people who I know who are in their 20s and have dogs treat their dogs a lot better than they treated their dogs when they were children. And so we had dogs when we were children, but they were very much like outside dogs or um yeah, you know, they weren't the way my dog is, just like very much a child. So I like dogs, and then I got a dog, and she's my child, and now we're here.
And now we are here. Whew, that is a journey. Well, tell me about I love it. Who knew? Who knew? That's why you talk to folks. That's who.
Yeah.
There are so many thousand ways to be a pet parent. So, as a pet parent, and you are in the New Jersey of Madison, and
Yep.
you're a producer, talk a bit about that role.
Yeah.
Different from the engineer, different from the talent, and probably an overlooked position. Is that where you thought you'd be? Tell me all the things.
Yeah, so I had decided that I like storytelling, and I really enjoy the medium of podcasting. I like the ability to have, 20 minutes to as long as you want to go to get your story across. And when I moved to Madison, I was really searching for community. And so I ended up at our community radio station here in Madison, WORT, and started learning about, how do you go out into the community, get a story, who do you call, like, getting these, uh, like, getting stories and then putting them out for the community to have. And those are really like short pieces. They're, 4 minutes to 7 minutes, depending on what the thing is. And then I said, I wanna flex this muscle a little bit further. Let's figure out what podcasting looks like. And I think like my what I've been really excited about is taking other people's stories and really putting them out in a way that reach as many people as possible, that sound as beautiful as they can sound. So yeah, I've been really blessed with WORT, and then with my colleague Craig Ely, who's given a lot of like, we do some skill sharing often. Occasionally he'll say, okay, I'm going to teach you this thing. It's your master class. Work on this episode. And it has been really fun. And we worked on the first season of Human Powered together, which is Wisconsin Humanities podcast.
Mhm.
And we are now working on season 2, which you're going to be a voice on.
I'm gonna have to work on there. What did you think that you were going to be doing at this point in your world? Just what did you think you would be doing? Sounds like this kind of took you off guard, caught
Mm,
you by surprise a bit.
yeah, I think about that. I thought about that a lot. I think this is kind of the galaxy spinning situation, right? Where you're supposed to go, you end up. And when I remember being like in 4th grade and thinking that my like job was going to be a book editor, which I don't know, a 4th grader who says like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to edit books. But I think that's what a podcast producer does,
This
And
is
so
a
I
modern
think,
day book.
mhm. Yeah, so I think that it just is sort of what I've always wanted to do,
Hmm.
in a different, just in a different jacket.
I like that. My good, the fourth grade version of you who knew what a book editor was. I didn't know that was a thing. So
Mhm.
it's someone who wanted to make things better, make things
Mhm.
their best. Were you a bossy kid?
I'm the oldest of 4.
See how I nailed that?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's go to this line of poetry. Tell me
Yeah.
a bit, where did this line take you?
I really like this line. I like that the galaxy flowers and spins. I think that I have been thinking a lot about the way that flowers as a verb is used here. It flowers, it doesn't bloom, it's flowering, which is just like, I think always beautiful. And then spins is kind of like, uh, it's neither good nor bad, right? It's just spinning. And so I think that this line really has brought me to the world keeps on moving, time keeps on ticking, and beautiful things happen, and also time just goes. The world just spins. Also, I don't know if you heard, but my dog is unhappy. She heard us talking about her.
Oh, they are that way. Just tell her not to unplug anything, and just tell her not to unplug anything. We're gonna have you back to her soon. And yeah, and the part about where it continues to spiral, it continues to spin, there can be a part of that truth that feels there can be a terror in that, and that idea that it just won't stop, and I just need for it to stop just for a minute. Or you can also feel really small,
Yeah.
right? In this machine that's gonna keep going, whether or not you want it to or not. But then there's this being part of this rhythm, this universal mechanism that it's gonna keep going, and there's a strength in that too.
Yeah.
That it's not gonna stop here and be only this moment, good, bad, or indifferent. So it works both ways. I think
Yeah.
that's two edges to that bit of wisdom, the sword of that wisdom.
I also the choice of galaxy as opposed to like um any other word, right? It just really it solidifies how small we are, right? The galaxy flowers and spins. It's not like the world, which is like big, but the galaxy, that's huge.
Mm-hmm. Does it make you feel expansive or tiny? And is that good or
Tiny.
is that bad?
And that's good. I think sometimes when you're like trying to like, I don't know, be someone who makes stuff and puts stuff out in the world, it's like really easy to be like, but it has to be the best, or it has to be it means so much, and it might mean so much to me, but in the grand scheme of things, there's a whole galaxy out there, and it's flowering and it's spinning.
Cut yourself a break and celebrate that you're here.
Yeah, and
I
celebrate
like
that you're
that.
here.
I like that. I'm going to ask you to go have a seat in our very plush digital green
Yes.
room. And I'm going to invite our next voice to make their way to the screen. Thank you for the time that you shared so far. Okay.
Thank you, Dasha.
So we are talking about the galaxy flowers and spins. And the invitation is to ask two residents who are strangers technically, but now joined by one line of poetry, and to share what their different stories would be. So our next guest coming to the screen is Ty Renfrow. Hello there.
Hello, good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Always good to talk with you. So this is a gift for me because it's being able to chat with people that I kind of know, and then chat with people that I haven't had a chance to really sit down with. And I've had a chance to just observe how you move. And we've had a chance to exchange some great ideas. So I really appreciate the time to hear some of your stories. So I already know that I think that you're incredible. So I would love for you to tell the good people, who are you?
So my name is Ty Renfrow. I am non-binary. I use she, they, or el pronouns. It's the French pronoun for non-binary person. I grew up in the Milwaukee area and became a felon in 2012. So I was sentenced in federal court and am now a federal felon, and had to serve time in probation for the crime that I was charged with. So after that point, though, after I was cleared from probation, I made it my mission to attack the state in that way against the system that incarcerates so many Black and brown people of color, especially here in Wisconsin. And I have pretty much dedicated all of my waking hours outside of work to doing that. Yeah.
That's not a small thing. Tell me a bit about this pathway where one having that light at the end of your own tunnel and walking towards that, and not just continuing on for yourself. What was the decision to double back, as in a way, to help other people, or what helped you get to that offering?
I think it's like the age old adage of, I'm not going to let this happen to another person again. That like really drives how I feel. I think that no person is able to heal when they are trapped in the system that the state has put together. And in this lifetime, I would really like to see a world where there is equity for people of color, and that can't happen when we are constantly being oppressed. And so that motivation for me to see a better world, like I think a lot about this in my life, it would be nice to have kids, but the fact that the children that I would raise would grow up and be subjected to a world that does not value them. And I would have to work so hard to show them that they are valued. I just don't think that that's fair. I want, at this point in time, I'm sad for the people that currently exist in the world who are facing those same struggles, and so I would like to make it better for the people that are already here in order for that future to be possible.
Thank you. One, for that answer, and two, just for that generous spirit, right? Because like you said, there are so many things that you could be focused on with your own personal endeavor, and it takes individuals to have real sharp experiences in life that get you set and one thing that you will never do, the thing that you absolutely want to do. And then the next level is to put yourself out there to see how things are different. So I have two questions. One, what are some of those things that you do towards this commitment that you've made? And what are some of the lessons that you are kind of maybe celebrating backwards? It makes sense.
Lesson celebrating backwards. I'll think about that while I give my first answer. So I work on a number of projects. I mean, the work that I do against prisons and for prison abolition spans from the very personal level. I have a woman who is trans in prison, who I've become quite close with. We've known each other for about 7 years now, and we consider each other to be sisters. So that work goes, on a very, very personal, singular, one identity and one person level, all the way up to I run the Milwaukee Lit Supply podcast. We interview prisoners and other guests at once a month and discuss a specific zine from our catalog. So it's just a way to get not only the reading material out into prisons, but to be able to converse about what that content is calling to them, and be able to share that story outside. It often brings up issues of, not only resistance, which is wonderful, but issues that people are facing within the prison system. So that's, just a way that we have found has been able to just get that information out to people in this free world.
Who makes the zines? Are they created inside, or who creates the zines?
It's a combination. So we've cultivated a catalog of a few hundred titles, and I would say 8 or 9 different categories, ranging from Black Power to health inside the prisons, to fiction, anarchy, abolition, and a great number of the zines are written by current or former felons, people like Kualesi Balagoon and Ashanti Alston. And additionally, there are, like, this is a radical project, so most of us are anarchists in our politics, and we've cultivated a lot of radical zines from collectives and groups across the world. So some of that literature is there as well.
Wow, what I'm taking into is the tools of choice, right? So which I love, you already know that this is what we're doing. This is subversive poetry right now.
Yes.
But a way wow. One where you already into zines and you're creative. So this is a way to lean into the other strength, the other way our brains are strong. So
Yes.
I haven't forgotten about the lessons that you've learned, but I definitely want to hear you talk more about using creativity as a tool of change.
Oh my gosh, I think it's like the most important thing that I can bring to the table in my work is creativity. So much of what we do to fight back is really traumatizing and hard to go through. But if there are ways that we can have fun and laugh and share in that with each other, that I think just makes it so much easier, even takes off the pressure just for that 1 second. So like when I go to visit my sister, we always color, and it doesn't matter what the image is, but we will talk and sit there and talk and color with each other, just so that we have the ability to share in that. And she doesn't even get to keep the pictures. I could care less about keeping the pictures, but I've kept them so that when she gets out, she can have them. And it's just, I think being able to share creatively, whether it's art, poetry, another form of words, or talking with each other, is another. I go back to one of the zines that we read recently, with Ashanti Alston, being able to share differences with each other and converse over a great multitude of identities brings us closer together and helps us to understand we are just as equal as each other, even though we are a multitude of differences. And
especially with the topics that you are pressing forward. Abolition is hard for people to wrap their minds around, and being able to present a narrative, a concept, and take this flyer and turn it into a bit of graphic art that is still talking about the necessity of rethinking this context that we've all been stuck in, has to be really powerful. So back to the lesson. So this journey that you've been on, right? So that it's different from the thing I wish I would know now, I wish I've known then. Those kind of, I think, can be an easy answer, but just a lesson you've learned backwards of where you are now looking at your journey. There's got to be so many gifts. So to share yeah.
So many. I think like the biggest lesson that I have learned is that compassion goes a long way, no matter who you are speaking with, or trying to converse with, trying to understand, whether that is the secretary of the DOC or someone who's being subjected to solitary confinement within that system. And I'm always a fiery person. When I get angry, you will know that I am angry. And with quite a bit of swearing peppered in there. But that's something that I've learned to, embrace. That's who I am. And there are times and places for me to be able to vent and let those feelings out. But I think that the biggest thing that I have been able to like understand about myself is that's like silencing that or being respectful to someone instead of yelling at them in that way isn't me taming who I am, like the savage inside of me. It is me controlling how I want to manipulate that person. And
but it's a I would say you're manipulating the emotion. So the other person,
Yeah.
you are directly communicating with them, and you're saving them. I really want you to hear this.
Yes.
So you woo-saw that thing. So I completely understand what it takes, because it doesn't. You still want to make sure that you're you and that you're not denying all the full range of who you are. And some of them, that range is not polite, but you don't have to be impolite to not.
Correct.
So I feel you. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Let's get to this poetry line. So tell me a bit what did this line say to you?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I loved my partner's response, Jade. I loved her response. I did not think about it that way, the way that she did. I'm sorry, I didn't catch her pronouns at the beginning, their pronouns, but for me, the galaxy, flowers, and spins, I think of a flower as like this. I think I want to recall back, I believe it's called like the Fibonacci sequence or something. It's like the mathematical equation that dictates the structure of all living things, and that manifested in the shape of a spiraled flower, to me, is like the embodiment of nature and of life as in general. So this one single line to me was moving straight into oneness, like with humanity, with nature, with the entire galaxy. We are all, spun from the same piece of thread and line, but it goes, from every atom down in our core being, all the way out into something that is larger than most of us can even conceptualize. The galaxy itself.
I love that. And yes, it is that golden spiral, that Fibonacci. And part of that, when I first heard about that, I was like, what? Why is math everywhere? Why is everything math? Stop it. And it turns out the answer to everything is math.
Yeah.
But I love that how, and I'm reading this text now, and it's talking about the spiral as a movement. So the atoms and our body cells and the galaxy, and like Jade was saying, and everything in between, and that motion is cyclical. So it's an output of who you are. And it's also taking in that you've also always been here, which can be relieving to, we were talking about feeling small or not, and it's okay to have this tiny space. So I'm actually going to invite Jay to come on the screen so we can, yes, look at us. We're philosophers, we are astrologers, we are activists, we are all of the things. Oh, Ty, meet Jay, Jay, meet Ty. Thank you so
much. It's nice to share a space, Ty.
So definitely like to carve it out. So if there are things that you've heard from either, that you wanted to comment on, so I don't need to facilitate you. We are all are in our power in this space. So definitely want to leave some time for you two to chat.
Well, I just want to say, Ty, I've really appreciated hearing about your work, and I, wrote down the name of the MK Lit Supply to binge later. I've got some time to listen later, so I'm really excited to hear about your work more.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. And I'm sorry I came late. I was doing work. Had to get something out right before 4, so I missed your introduction, but pleasure to be here.
I think this will be on Dasha's Facebook, so you can hear my story about how I ended up in Madison because I have a bad dog.
Oh no!
And you're a pet person. You're a pet parent too, aren't you, Ty?
I am. We in our house combined, we have 2 cats and my dog. Mm-hmm. What kind of dog do you have, Jade?
She's a Great Dane mix, so she's a big lady.
Wow.
And then recently this winter, to avoid the sad, me and my partner got 2 kittens on top of our adult cat, and so it is wild in my 2-bedroom apartment.
I bet that is insane.
So
yes, I feel you though. 1 block away, my parents, they have 3 dogs, 3 German Shepherds, and 5 cats. So it's insanity. Plus 2 grandkids most of the time. So
we gotta have
full zoo.
Yes.
Well, since I have two pros on the lines, and both of you work in these new digital books and working in podcasts and recording, the advice that you give everybody about the podcast, starting, improving. I'm sure you get people ask you all the time once they know that you do it. So, Ty, starting with you, what's the podcast advice that you give to folks?
Oh my gosh. I think the most important one is just to like have that conversation with yourself and forget the mic's there. I think that's like super important, and people get really bogged down in, well, what do I sound like? And, make sure that I have the perfectly polished sentence. And if you just stick that thing right in your face and then forget about it and just have a conversation, their content will be so much more appealing and approachable to a listener than to try to prepare and really polish your words. Just be yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Jade?
Put it out there. Don't hold on to it for too long. This is something that advice that I need to take myself. I have a project that I'm working on right now that's about cannabis in Wisconsin and how we're remarkably late to the game, but also it puts us in a really important place to think about how equity has been thought of in other states. And we're working on this project, but I want it to be so sweet and so good. And you just got to put stuff out sometimes. Episode 3 is always going to be better than episode 1.
That's the t-shirt line.
Yeah.
What's your wisdom? Episode 3 is always going to be better than episode 1. So just keep going. We don't even talk about episode 6. Just keep doing it. Oh, excellent. Well, I want to thank both of you for carving out the time to fall into this conversation. I hope that you'll trade information in the chat room, back in the green room. And what I would like to do is share the poem that this line actually comes from. But before we dip out, are there any things that you want to share with the good people? Any information? Any things coming up? Tell us the name of your podcast again, Ty.
MKE Lit Supply Podcast.
Excellent. And Jade, we can hear about your project that you're going to put out.
Yeah.
Where can we find that?
You can find me on Twitter mostly, Jade Iseri-Ramos, no hyphens, just my name all squished together, is where I share most of my things. But also I would love to amplify the work that Ty is doing because it's important.
Oh.
I feel magic happening. I feel it. So enjoy the space in the back. I'm going to share what this poems come from, because again, the invitation is to take a single line of poetry and find out what two complete strangers might share in terms of an inspiration. So I would like to share this piece. It is actually written by Max Garland, and the title of his poem is called Orion Spur. I like it here, just above the elbow of the outflung arm of the galaxy. I like the way objects retain the history of motion in their shapes, and things that aren't still appear. Make yourself useful, my grandfather said, handing me a hoe or a hammer or a spool of jute to tie up the tomato vines. I like the tentacled way the galaxy flowers and spins, and how dust catches your eye when lit and far away. You feel the weight at the center like a negative sun, or the immense concentration of God. Everything wants inward, but the wanting whirls outward, like when funnels of dirt rose and twisted along the drought-stuck fields. Make yourself useful, he'd say. I'd unwind the hose and drag it between furrows. Then moan and complaint from the engine in the pump house would commence. The sprinklers spin and water shine like the soul of a well released. Then evening back when the stars were still visible, though some weren't stars at all, I know now, but galaxies themselves, or clusters of galaxies, or superclusters. But what I remember was how the fronds of new shoots rose and climbed the next day. And now, even 50 years later, the smell of tomato vines, of tomato leaves, if I rub them, is my grandfather in motion amongst the dust and stars made useful. The galaxy, flowers and spins. One line of poetry is an invitation to your story. Thank you for making time for being here today. Again, my name is Dasha Kelly Hamilton. I am Wisconsin Poet Laureate and your host of Alignment, and we'll see you next time.